here with Tori, founder of Visual Magnetics, and we've just been having a chat around the story of Visual Magnetics, but also this idea of entrepreneurship and how to kind of navigate the inevitable, I guess, not ups and downs necessarily, but the amount of energy you need to invest in being an entrepreneur. So I thought it was really worthwhile sharing Tori's story, and I'll let Tori introduce herself and what Visual Magnetics is, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. So I'm Tori, and I'm a co-founder of Visual Magnetics, but we make dry erase wall coverings. So essentially, and that's what's behind me here, we have just given the dry erase board a massive upgrade. I think it's something that, even though it's not what we think of as technology, it's that kind of moment of zen with your team where you're really trying to get that breakthrough moment. It usually happens on a dry erase board and not on our Slacks and all that, even though those are helpful. So we figured that it needed a big upgrade, and it's been incredible to see how different kinds of companies put it to use. So.
Yeah, do you want to walk everyone through kind of the conception of the idea and how it kind of came up?
Absolutely. So basically, my company's a family startup, so I started this with my mom and my dad, and they the most driven, creative people. I'm so lucky to have them as business partners. We worked together. First, the material came up as something my dad came up with in, essentially, like, we made it in the garage. But, like a lot of those funny entrepreneurial stories you hear. But it was like, well, we have this materials technology of, it's, this innovative material. We have patents now on it. This is crazy. Let's try to get other people to make products with it, because it would be crazy to do that ourselves. And then people weren't really impressing us with their ideas of what they wanted to do. People weren't really willing to take a chance at a physical product, where everything people are investing in these days are digital. So between the three of us, said, you know what, we're going to do it. Let's just do it. Let's make products with this stuff. And then after having spending some time in a co-working space for a couple months, realized very quickly that one of the most practical uses of this, where it's needed the most, would be to improve the workspace. Yeah, absolutely. Which is getting a massive overhaul in general.
So you guys can't, well, I guess you can see it behind us, but this is in action right now, and it's really cool. I definitely recommend you guys check it out afterwards, but we'll talk about that at the end. What I think will be really worthwhile, because what Tori and I were talking about just before, was this idea of, inevitably, when you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a co-founder, whether you're working in a startup at an early stage, you're going to invest a lot of your emotions, a lot of your time into it. And Tori had some incredible insights in terms of, I guess, diversifying your identity and sourcing that energy from somewhere else. Because if you're always investing your energy and keep working and working and working, when something inevitably goes well, then it's going to be hard if you don't have the energy reserves to really celebrate that. So do you want to kind of walk everybody through that?
Sure. I think that it can be something that you can get used to as an entrepreneur. Obviously, you get kind of used to hard work and, wondering when that light at the end of the tunnel is going to happen. So you're kind of putting in all of your energy into something and waiting for those breakthrough moments and kind of those successes that can be celebrated with your team. And then you start to realize, so it becomes a little bit addictive. You put all of your energy into your goals and the longer term goals. And then what can be really disturbing is when you get there and it's this better, it's the outcomes to, a 6-month-long endeavor comes out better than you imagined. And you suddenly just feel panic for what's next, or don't get any joy, or that inside core of energy doesn't fill up. And you're like, well, wait a minute, if that isn't refilling me, how do I go on? Where am I going to go next, and how am I going to get there without that energy? Because it only can go so long of doing that as an entrepreneur. Yeah. Having yourself feed off of the work alone. It had been about 5 solid years of doing that before I suddenly had that wake-up call that I needed to start getting that core energy and, I guess, enthusiasm from other areas of my life.
So how did you go about doing that? Was it, you kind of mentioned before, it's about like finding time outside work and just kind of allocating that time?
I think it depends how long you've been in the whirlwind of not having a life outside of work. You may have forgotten what you love to do outside of that. But it maybe just think about the things you loved as a kid, or the things that you really enjoyed extracurricularly in school. And even just reconsider the things you're doing for release currently. If it's you're getting out and you're working super late and to Friday night, and then you say, okay, now time for fun. And what is fun? What is fun again? Oh, fun is going out for drinks with my friends, or fun is doing brunch or going shopping or whatever people around you are doing. Really reassess that.
Yeah.
And if it's just kind of passing time and letting yourself unwind, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
It needs to be actually filling you back up so that you can go back at it.
That's so interesting in terms of being like intentional with like finding your passion again, or like finding your hobbies.
I think passion is this thing that we've plugged into as like, oh, what's my passion is what I'm doing for work, and it is, but it also, it helps it, like you said, diversify.
Yeah.
It's an important thing to do. So I was actually really lucky when I kind of hit that wall, and finally, like, all this great stuff happened after a really, really challenging time, and had to start going again, and was like, wait, there's no joy in here from what just happened. Luckily, it was in a good season to start exploring some of the things I love. It was right in spring, the weather was starting to heat up again.
So Tori was saying she's an outdoors person,
yes.
Like a surfer, likes going on hikes, so that's why the weather was a good timing, right?
Yeah. So I started to reconnect with those things, and it felt awkward at first, to be honest with you. And I grew up on a lake, and I grew up doing all these things and surfing, and it was fun to find a whole new crowd that did completely different things. They weren't entrepreneurs, they were just a new group of friends that I ended up linking up with, that I'd like to spend their free time in a way that was healthy for me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I really, really like that, Tori. Okay, so last question is, if you could talk to Tori circa 2010, back when you started, what would you say to yourself, knowing everything you've learned so far?
That 2010 was right when I was graduating college. And I think that, like, going through those processes, you're, in school, you're very much, waiting for that approval to go to take your next level class, or you're waiting for approval to get your, degree and all these things. And then you get out of school and you say, okay, now where's my permission to go, pretend that I'm a way better graphic designer and start making some money, or, wearing these hats that you don't feel ready for, or you don't feel like someone's given you the green light, but you just got to go for it. I think that it's so easy to feel like an imposter of a profession, and as an entrepreneur, if you're not kind of embracing that generalist mentality, then you're not going to be using yourself as a resource the right way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think that I had a lot of insecurity around definitely thinking I should have been a specialist, when starting your business is like a whole bunch of little things and doing them as best as you can. I think just going for it and not waiting for someone to say it's okay, you can do this, and you can say that you're doing this, and that's what you're actually doing.
It's so interesting because there's obviously the big trend towards this idea of imposter syndrome, and it's funny that you brought up imposter, like that word. Imposter syndrome obviously being like, once you reach a level of achievement, being like, oh, like, do I deserve this, or is this what it's supposed to be? And it's just like kind of realizing it's like that's actually part of the process. It's like,
it is,
like you have permission to do it. So that's awesome, Tori. Okay, so if anybody wants to check out Visual Magnetics, check out you, how should they follow you guys? What should they check out?
I like going to our Instagram because we're a very visual company. We do, aside from doing dry erase, we also do really fun interactive installations. So that's at Visual Magnetics on Instagram. And then we actually just launched a new website, and with our kind of new workspace-focused brand that is called Foster. You can get to that by going to foster.visualmagnetics.com, and it's all about fostering collaboration and creativity, and using your walls wisely in a way that you probably have never done before. So.
Awesome. Cool. So that is my chat with Tori, and we're in Brooklyn, New York right now. And check out Visual Magnetics. It's really cool in person. I wish you guys are here, but definitely check it out, and check out Tori. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.